Hello, I'm back. The previous time, we discussed about self-care, the ability to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and deal with illness and disability with or without the assistance of a healthcare provider is known as self-care. We have previously discussed what you can do for yourself. In this video, we'll discuss what you can do for both yourself and others. Before we start with the discussion, if there are topics that make you feel uncomfortable, you may take your time outside of the space. And if you need help that is urgent, you may reach out to the NCMH crisis hotline as shown in your screens. Dear you, this is my final letter to you for now. Remember that you can always go back to reread these letters and that your journey is not linear. No one's journey is linear. Remember not to compare your journey with others because no one's experiences are a direct and uniform comparison with yours. Taking this journey alone is a difficult process, but knowing that you are doing this in the service of yourself and others, the people you love, the people who support you, and the community in which you all live may motivate you to continue practicing despite any setbacks. For this lesson, we will be discussing about the self-care and mental health continuum, referral pathways, and mental health professionals. Just a recap, every person must be in a condition of good mental health in order to perform well in society. Our emotional, psychological, and social well-being are all included in our conceptualization of mental health. Our ability to manage and control our emotions, as well as our social interactions with others, are all aspects of mental health. One common misunderstanding regarding mental health is that it is bad and shouldn't be discussed. It is important to discuss mental health. Learning to say, I need help, is the most courageous self-care act. Another review. The mental health continuum offers an effective explanation for comprehending mental health. According to the paradigm, there are four categories of mental health: healthy, reacting, injured, and ill. Healthy people function normally. At the moment, they view life with optimism. There are several typical stressors that can be quickly resolved in people who are reacting. People who are injured, on the other hand, experience intense sensations of rage and worry and require medical attention. Although they have not yet received a diagnosis, people at this stage are struggling with their mental health. Last but not the least, a clinical condition is identified in people who are in crisis. Keep in mind that while this continuum of mental health might help you understand where you are on the spectrum, only psychologists or psychiatrists should provide a professional diagnosis. It can only be used as a guide to help you comprehend your mental health. It is advised that you speak with a mental health expert if you believe that you are injured or in crisis, or if you show signs of a mental health issue. Therefore, constantly keep in mind that we all operate on a different levels. We all have mental health, so we need to look after ourselves. During summer, when the sun is out and your skin drinks in the light and the wind, and the sky is so clear you might almost believe that rain hadn't yet been invented. During summer, practicing self care should remain a priority. It should be the season to build yourself up, to build healthy coping mechanisms, and to practice refocusing and grounding. Practicing these skills can only strengthen the habits you need to rely on during difficult challenges or tough situations. The mental health continuum model and coping mechanisms are genuinely related. People who are healthy and reacting should exercise self care by continuing to increase their level of peak performance and resilience. Healthy people can continue to use coping mechanisms such as maintaining a positive outlook, concentrating on their job, and developing support systems. At this stage, self care focuses on maintaining and even enhancing mental health. Self care and individuals who are reacting. People can practice self care by taking pauses and making sure they get enough rest, food, and exercise when they are responding to a stressor. Several self care techniques, including physical, emotional, cognitive, social, economical, and spiritual self care, were previously covered. At this stage of mental health continuum, coping mechanisms such as understanding and emotion regulation are also possible. Self care and individuals who are injured and in crisis. On the other hand, people who are injured and in crisis might need to speak with a mental health expert. Recall that getting expert assistance counts as a self care. Self care activities may be prioritized by injured people because they will benefit from them in their daily lives. They could stay in touch with others and talk to someone, perhaps a mental health professional. People who are in crisis require assistance from a psychologist or psychiatrist. They must abide by the advice provided by these mental health professionals on their care. Additionally, those who are in crisis must have access to information about where to get assistance. At this point in the mental health continuum, help and support seeking measures can be used. Remember the frustration you feel whenever perennial problems keep occurring, even though we should have learned from previously encountering and surviving challenges. Every year, plans are put in place to ensure that communities are safe during typhoon or monsoon season. And every year, we hope that these plans can hold firm and that communities can work together to save each other during times of great need. In the same way that you cannot know exactly what will happen to you, you also gather support systems and rely on those with more resources and power to help you in your time of need. Keep in mind that going through difficulties and experiencing difficult emotions will happen, and the plans that we build in our bright, sunny seasons should look towards and respond to the needs that might arise when we need help. When you are able to acknowledge what kind of help you need or that you need help, the next step is to look for this help. What you can do now is to provide yourself with the resources to support your help seeking behavior. When you think a friend's problems are out of your control or area of expertise, or when you don't feel comfortable helping them with a problem, you should think about referring them for counseling. A recommendation may be issued because the person's issues are interfering with his or her academic performance or work performance, or because observing the person's behavior raises concerns. When we observe our friends struggling, we might urge them to ask for help from mental health professionals. Referral pathways. Referral pathways, which consist of a number of processes and shared knowledge and accepted methods of cooperating between providers in a local area, should be understood. Schools and workplaces must be completely integrated into the referral pathways to local health, mental health, and community support agencies in order to address the mental health needs of students and employees. Self care also involves accepting and offering help and resources to those who may be going through a difficult time. When someone needs help, pointing them in the right direction and offering your support in ways that they need, like through conversations, by listening, and even by referring them to a mental health professional, are all part of the resources you can store and might be related to habits that you can build. Your friends can recognize you as an advocate, an ally, and as someone who has the resources and some knowledge about mental health systems. Your presence in the lives of your loved ones can be a tremendous support when someone else needs care. Who you can consult when you have a mental health concerns or you would like to refer someone. The experts in the mental health listed below include psychiatrists, psychologists, guidance counselors, psychometricians, social workers, doctors, nurses, and other health workers. If the matter is not urgent, you can speak with a mental health expert. Testing, diagnosis, and therapy are some of the mental health treatments offered. There are a few specialists who can offer you these services. An expert in the identification, management, and prevention of mental, emotional, and behavioral problems is a psychiatrist. On the other hand, clinical interviews, psychological examinations, and testing are all methods that psychologists are trained to use to determine a person's mental health. You might be wondering, what are the similarities and differences of psychologists and psychiatrists? They can offer both individual and group therapy in addition to making diagnoses. The primary distinction between the two is that while psychologists can conduct psychological assessments, psychiatrists can give medicine to patients. In actuality, psychologists now frequently refer clients to psychiatrists for medication management, and psychiatrists frequently refer patients to psychologists for psychotherapy. Guidance counselors provide counseling sessions to students in school settings to assist them with personal, social, and academic issues. They also assist students in developing their career goals and outlining the steps necessary to reach them. Psychometricians are examples of other professions that help with the assessment and referrals to qualified mental health specialists for additional intervention or therapy. Social workers are professionals whose main focus is to improve basic social interactions and people's ability to adapt to their surroundings for both the benefit of the individual and the society as a whole. In addition to protecting vulnerably affected children and adults from harm, Social workers may also refer affected children and adults to mental health specialists. Doctors, nurses, and other health workers, as well as health planners and managers, can also be knowledgeable about mental health interventions through proper training. As part of collaborative care, all of these mental health specialists collaborate. In the workplace, you can inquire about mental health issues with the Human Resource Department, managers, and supervisors. Workplace must incorporate techniques for enhancing mental health in the workplace as required by the Philippine Mental Health Law. According to the Act, companies must create mental health policies and programs, address workplace stigma and discrimination related to mental health issues, and encourage access to treatment and psychosocial support for people with mental health conditions. I will use one as an illustration. Let's assume that the student is having mental health issues. The guidance counselor at the school can help the student and then recommend them to a psychologist if necessary. A psychometrician may be requested by the psychologist to administer tests to evaluate the student. In order to include the student's family in the treatment or intervention, the psychologist also speaks with them. The guidance counselor can then receive advice from the psychologist regarding what else the school can do to support the student. You can see that providing collaborative care would be the greatest option. We have learned the value of self care, but we must also recognize its advantages and disadvantages. In order to be sustainable, self care is necessary. To maintain and improve our mental health, we take care of ourselves. The idea of self care is to provide you options so you may choose what suits you best. Never forget that self care is individualized. What doesn't work for one person may work for another. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in the Philippines, you realized that while the entire nation shared in the struggle to collectively recover from the ravaging effects of the pandemic, the full effects of the pandemic on individual mental health cannot be neatly or quickly summarized and described. We were all in the same sea, but we were not in the same boat. And it is towards this difference and towards the gaps in the care that we must focus. Different mental health professionals like psychologists, psychiatrists, guidance counselors, and the system that connects these experts and the resources to the individuals are part of the system that is supposed to care for us all. As such, we are all stakeholders and we all have part to play in the network of caring for and receiving care. We cannot survive without each other. You have come such a long way for yourself, and you still have so much to offer those in your community who need care and who need access to mental health resources. Going forward, I hope you will start using these self care kits whenever you need to practice care or whenever you feel you need to be more compassionate towards yourself. Take note of these self care kits as a mental health champion. It is important to use these skills when we seek to help others. In Unit 2, you will develop and practice skills to help you become a mental health champion who can offer help and shine a beacon of light for other Filipinos who might be in the middle of their own storm. You will meet Sigla and Mithi in the next unit. your guides to learning about your right as a people with lived experience, communicating your story, and finally advocating for mental health in the Philippines. Tara! Sunod ka! It is now time for you to compile a list of local resources in your area using the list of mental health specialists we have provided. You might perform an internet search or ask individuals in the neighborhood if they know any local mental health specialists. Our learning management system has the instructions placed there. I'll see you in the next module. Self compassion is self care. Give yourself permission to look after yourself. It is time to say, Ako naman muna. Keep in mind to look after your physical and emotional well being because your mental wellness comes first and self care is the first step. Until the next video, take care. You deserve the same kindness you show to others.